Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the City Commission Conference meeting this January 7th, 2025. This is our first meeting of the new year, so thank you for being here. And we have a number of items on this afternoon's agenda. But just for reference purposes, Business 2, I'm told, is going to be removed from the agenda. So if anyone's here regarding Business 2, that will now be heard on January 22nd at the conference meeting on that date. So the 22nd is on a Wednesday, and we moved that over because of the Martin Luther King holiday. So again, Business 2 is going to be removed from the agenda today and will be heard at the next meeting. Moving forward, we have one communication from the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee. Motion was made by Mr. Condon requesting a joint workshop. Is there an opportunity to do that, Susan?
Yeah, we have the calendars pretty wide open except for budget workshops. So staff will work with them on finding a date that works.
Okay. So do we want to continue to do these right before our conference meetings on Tuesday? Does that make sense for everybody? Yeah.
I agree.
Like 11:30? Okay. All right, very good. Commissioner Beasley-Pittman, you're still on that committee, right?
Yes, I am.
Yeah. Okay, very good. All right. So, Business 1, International Swimming Hall of Fame Phase 1 update. Who's going to...
And Ben Rogers is going to make the update.
Mr. Rogers.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Commission. Ben Rogers, Acting Assistant City Manager. Happy 2025 to all of you. Today, we're going to focus on the Phase 1 update for the International Swimming Hall of Fame. So there's multiple phases for this project, but today we're going to talk about Phase 1, which it's focused on the new seawall and the construction of the Ocean Rescue Headquarters and the demolition of the East Building. There's future phases, the construction of the West Building, the East Building, and then the water docks and site work. All of those updates, I plan on coming back to the Commission in either March or April and sharing those updates with the Commission at that time. So today we're just going to focus on the seawall and the Ocean Rescue Headquarters. So the seawalls, this is in alignment with the Commission's vision and their goals, priorities to, bolster the infrastructure of the city, combined with the Las Olas Marina, Bahia Mar, and Ishoff. There's, hundreds of linear feet of seawall improvements being made on the Barrier Island. This one has approximately 1,400 linear feet, about a $10 million price tag, and it is replacing the seawall all the way around the entire peninsula. The Ocean Rescue Headquarters is a 7,600 square foot building. It will have office space, storage, and aquatic center rooftop viewing area. It is moving forward through the process. We'll talk about the timelines in a little bit, but the DRC submission was submitted last month, at the end of last month. It does require a DRC administrative review, which does not require that it comes back to the City Commission for approval. Well, some of the renderings for the Ocean Rescue Building, again, just want to show the profile and how it aligns with the entire complex vision. It's that building right behind the dive tower. There's two different concepts at this point. The one on the left is an open rooftop terrace. The second one has a closed rooftop for some shade. If the Commission has any preference or feedback on that, it would be helpful to get that today. Obviously, there's some costs associated with the covered portion, but there's also a lot of benefits from the weather and the elements. So I don't know, Mayor, if the Commission has any feedback on one
So
of those.
how tall, pictures and artist renderings are always deceiving a little bit. How tall is this structure going to be from the pool deck?
It's about 30 feet.
30 feet.
Yes.
So that's, in swimming terms, that's about, 7 meters? Well, the reason why I bring that up is because I see the encroachment of the dive tower happening slowly, little by little, to the point where, this now iconic image is going to be obscured by buildings that are going to surround it. And now that you want to add a covered area, it's going to obscure it even more. So I just want to bring that to the Commission's attention so that while I do believe that ocean rescue is important, we have to also keep in mind its location on the peninsula and how it's going to interact with the dive tower, which we've we've committed a lot of money to. It's an iconic feature of the site, and soon we're going to be talking about the building to the right, which seems to tower over the tower, which I don't think that's really accurate either. But something to think about. Anyone else have any comments on that?
Well, Mayor, I think, well, first of all, where else would the Ocean Rescue building go on that pool deck area or anywhere near there? That would be my number one question. But number two, I think we're only really talking about, or do we want this covered or not covered? I personally think that there are many more advantages if it's covered, especially with our climate. But I'd like to hear from folks that maybe we'll be utilizing. Maybe Chief Golan has some comments. Maybe the team from ISHOF has some comments. But to me, it would actually behoove us to cover it. But again, I'm not an expert on the area, but I would certainly love to hear from folks that will be utilizing the building.
So, Vice Mayor, if I may, on the north side of the existing pool deck, there's the upper level, and I believe that one of the initial feedback that we heard from the existing infrastructure was that it was wide open to the elements and that there needed to be more shade and more canopy up there to make it more pleasant for viewing the dive tower.
But if you put a cover there, you can't view it. Your view is obstructed. The only people that actually can view what's going on are the people in the first row. The rest is going to be, blocked by the covering. If you had maybe an angled covering, the design here doesn't make any sense. It's not if it was an angled covering, then the people, at the very south of the building would be able to see whatever's going on. Right now, the only people that can really see is the very front. So something to think about as you're going forward. Anyone else? Anyone else have any thoughts? Okay. There being none?
A question before you move on. Thank you.
Go ahead.
That area is an observation deck, right? Will there be seating, or is this a like standing room only type deck? What does this
So right now,
provide?
I think it's mostly envisioned for event space. So during the events, when there's tournaments, when there's dive competitions, the building is eliminating a lot of the pool deck space, and so the rooftop would then allow the space that's on the pool deck now to still be available for use. It could be divers resting, it could be spectators watching, it could be some kind of social event, but it would be again replacing the pool deck area that's being removed as part of the building structure.
Thank you.
Ben, do we know what the cost differential is, open versus closed?
I don't. There are some members of the ISHOF team here. If you want me to call them up, they could speak to it maybe.
I was just curious as to what kind of price difference we're talking about.
So when we had discussions, remember that we have a cap on the amount of availability payment we made, and when we were discussing, they thought it could fit into the budget. But yeah, it costs more. But again, confirming, yes? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Please proceed.
So the primary goal for today was really to share the timeline and the potential impacts for the community. There will be some construction impacts, some noise, and wanted to just be full transparent as we head into this project. So you can see by this chart here, the enabling work, the demolition is scheduled to happen over the next 4 to 6 months. We've done a lot of coordination efforts in advance to try to mitigate peak season, major events, and Barrier Island events, and take that into consideration. The seawall would start in early April as well as the ocean rescue. Seawalls would be about a year long, ending at Q1 of 2026, while ocean rescue is a quarter longer, ending sometime in the summer of 2026. So what the neighborhood, what the residents may experience during this are, grouped into 4 buckets here. The construction overview, there will be heavy equipment on site. There'll be cranes operating. There'll be on-site parking. And right now the plan is to operate 5 days a week from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. There is an asterisk there noting that there will be some times during the project where extended hours may be requested or maybe weekend work depending on what the activity is going on. Construction noise, again, we understand the code requirements, so no noise generating work will start until 8 a.m. Many of the residents are very familiar with the sheet pile driving with the marina project that just got over with and what to expect for that. The demolition of the east building will obviously create some periods of noise, but overall just have a general noise from construction like you see in any development. The peninsula itself will have some impacts with parking while they're doing the north seawall. There'll be some temporary internal detours and pedestrian paths. We're coordinating with the water taxi on their stop and the impacts during construction. As I noted before, we are taking this to the next level with the planning efforts. We've already met with ISHOF, the special events team, spring break, trying to make sure that all of these things align. We've already modified the construction schedule based on spring break and making sure that all travel lanes are available. We meet with the project team on a weekly basis. And in December, they met with the Central Beach Alliance to get ahead of this and have a commitment to keep them updated as the project moves forward.
Ben, question there. Boat show. This is going to happen during the boat show, so talk me through that impact.
Yep. So all
both
that's
on the water and otherwise.
All that is in consideration. What I'm going to do now, commissioners, go quarter by quarter, and when we get to the boat show period, you'll see that there are considerations for the boat show.
Okay, great, thanks.
So for the first 3 months, what to expect, most of it's on the peninsula where the Ocean Rescue Building will be. It'll be demolishing the pool deck. We'll be doing the enabling works to get things going and to start some of the foundation work. April through June of 2025, you can see there's 3 primary areas. The Ocean Rescue Building will start to be vertically constructed. That's illustrated by the yellow arrow on the right side. On the yellow arrow in the bottom left, that is illustrating the seawall sheet walls. Will start to be installed and the staging areas for those. And on the top of the picture, the east building demolition process will start to begin. As we go through the summer months, July through September, you can see those same 3 or 4 areas. The Ocean Rescue structures in place and the interior rough-in will start. The seawall caps will start to be installed on the west and the north. Again, during this period of time, there'll be some impacts on the peninsula, on parking, on walking paths, on water taxi stops. And then during that period, they hope to complete the demolition of the east building. As we head into the winter months, and this would be your boat show, we do coordinate and suspend activities during the boat show. We've already had conversations with them on what that looks and feels like, and we'll get a more granular update for you, Commissioner Sorensen, as we get closer to that period. But you can see now they're working on interior, the build out of the Ocean Rescue. They're finalizing the seawall on the north and the south side. And again, they're working with the boat show to make sure that we're a partner and not a conflict with that event. You can see on this illustration from the south side, they have to come from the water side with the crane. All of the other areas should be from land side and less impactful for the marine. So with that, I'll take any questions on phase 1. Again, I plan on coming back to the commission in March or April with a phase 2 update where we'll talk about the future of the west building.
I have a few people signed up to speak, so before we begin commission comments, let's hear what the public has to say. We have John Burns. John, are you here? Followed by Greg Jennings.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm John Burns. I'm the president of the Venetian Condominium at 1 Las Olas Circle. We're directly across the waterway from the site. Mr. Mayor, I represent 237 owners who share some of your concerns about building height, but I know this is not the meeting about that. I'll also start my comments by saying the ISHOF has presented to our building once before, and we intend to have them back at least one more, if not more times, so that they can explain all these things to our residents. But one of our big concerns is this pile driving. We've been through it before with the swimming pool, and it was just days and days and days of vibrations. And I would request, like Suntex did, Suntex actually came and did some pre-measurements and inspections of buildings in the area. They set up seismic monitors, and they had an engineer on site. So with whatever happens during the pile driving, which I hope won't be as bad as it was with the swimming pool, could be corrected or at least taken care of at that point in time. Because some of our residents are really concerned about buildings that are sinking now and buildings that are falling down. It's gotten a lot of attention in our building. The next...
Before you jump, can we get a response to that? Ben, this is very significant. And what time of year are the pile drivings supposed to take place, and how many pilings are going to how long a period of time is this going to take place? You know, it does rattle the timbers of all the adjacent buildings, and especially the Venetian, which is not a new building. So what's the city's response to that?
Yeah, I mean, the seawall will have a lot of sheet pilings going in, and so that is an extended period of time. I could call up Greg from ISHOF, the project team, to give you more information on how long that specific action takes, or Michelle. Greg?
Good afternoon. I'm Greg Jennings, project manager with Tinsel Phelps Construction. So I was there during the construction of the pools. I was the project manager for that phase, and certainly was there when the piles were going in. We will conduct vibration monitoring. That is a part of our contract with the subcontractor to monitor vibration. I can't speak to effects on the Venetian and so forth.
Well,
but,
how many weeks is that going to take place?
It's going to be several months. So 1,400 lineal feet of piles to put in. So depending on how efficient they are, and we'll have we have a scheduled time frame right now, but once they start, we'll see how efficient they are in putting them in, and hopefully
So is this going to happen over the summer months or over into the fall?
It will start in the springtime, so end of March, mid to end of March.
Right in the middle of spring break, it's going to happen.
Right, that's when they'll be on the west end, starting at the west, the tip of the peninsula, and then they will proceed to the north and the south side.
Who thought of this? At the height of our tourist season, you guys are going to start driving sheet pilings, and what's the thinking there?
I don't know the thoughts other than, once we came to financial closing and under contract, then we have a certain timeline to get our work complete. So that's
okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
Continue. You had more to say.
I guess my question is about, they don't understand the effect of the Venetian. My real concern is what monitoring can be done. Suntex actually put a seismic monitor or a vibration monitor on our property when they were going around Las Olas Circle, and they did the same thing with pre-inspections of the buildings along Birch Road, just to make sure that there weren't any conditions created that we would have to deal with in the future.
So can you guys do the same thing?
Yeah, so Mr. Mayor, I was involved with the Suntex and the Marina project, very familiar with what actions took there. So yeah, what we'll do is we'll go offline with John and the Venetian and the project team, and we'll work together to figure out the best path forward.
Okay.
My final comment would be, again, I keep referring to Suntex. They actually set the standard for neighborhood communication during a project, if they can just finish the project. But they met with us very frequently to update all the surrounding buildings and neighbors, and I hope that ISOF can do the same. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Mayor. Mario Caprini. Happy New Year, everyone. Just to help clarify, we will definitely consult with our subcontractor to see what we can do specifically for them, and we will try to expedite this as fast as we can.
Okay. Very good. All right, that's the total number of speakers who sought to speak. There are others here who signed up for questions only. Anyone from the commission have any questions of Mr. Rogers? All right, thank you so much. All right. When is it all going to be done, Ben? Not just this, but the whole kit and caboodle. Mr. Caprini, when is it going to be done? When is the whole project going to be done?
It's supposed to be
The beginning of 28.
Yeah, end of 27, beginning of 28.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to business 3, City Hall update. who will be giving that presentation?
And it's Ben
Oh.
again.
Pull up a chair, Mr. Rush.
I was also scheduled for business too, so.
Gave you a break there.
All right, so this topic, City Hall update. Really want to touch base on a couple of things. One, just a current overview of where we're at. We came to the commission in fall and gave an update on the demolition. The demolition's still moving forward. There were a couple snags with some of the dewatering and subsurface work. Most of that has been permitted and worked. Those issues have been worked out. It's now a matter of scheduling and getting that work completed. We think that it should be 100% completed probably by the end of February, early March, and that would be delivering the city a grass parcel that's fenced off. That is the entire parcel of City Hall.
So I would recommend to the City Commission that when we have our goal-setting session, that we come to that meeting with some ideas as to moving forward. And I'm talking in terms of the response that the Commission would have in connection with the infrastructure task force recommendations, as well as a site in particular. We can't move forward unless we all agree on a site. And so I hope that by that time we can have some ideas. We've reached out to our community, and let's see how we can move forward in getting this done. Make sense?
Mayor, has ITF made a recommendation on this?
Sorry?
Has ITF made a
They
recommendation?
came. They gave us a report.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get you a copy of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks.
The other efforts that we've been working on, we have an owner's representative solicitation that was released and it's currently active. We extended the bid period based off the holidays. That bid closes January 15th. Once we get that back, depending on the number of bids we receive, we'll determine the timeline on how long it takes to review, evaluate, and come back to the commission for consideration.
Bid for what?
That was for an owner's representative. So
Oh,
that's
for an owner's rep.
Yep.
Okay.
We're also working on a design criteria package, and that would have this kind of the scope definition of what we're looking for a 30% design, what the City Hall would have in it, and some of the deliverables and goals of City Hall. Depending on how the conversations go today and at the goal setting, we could release that sooner. If we don't have some of those answers, then we'll have to work with the owner's rep when they get on board to get us through the site selection, some of the building amenities and massing, and then we could release that solicitation thereafter. In addition, we're working with the financial team doing revenue sufficiency models as part of our 5-year, 10-year look aheads with our outside consultants, building that into the model to make sure that we understand what the rent costs are now, what the capital costs will be, and what the operating costs and maintenance costs in the future will look like. So that's currently what's going on kind of behind the scenes. What I wanted to do today was kind of share some examples of some city halls in Florida and then talk about site selection and building amenities. So the first two examples, Coral Springs and Sunrise, are both Broward County city halls. Coral Springs opened in 2018. It was a 5-story complex with 75,000 square feet. It also included a 4-level parking garage that had 600 parking spaces. And the building itself has commission chambers, administrative offices, meeting rooms, one-stop shop. It also has a beam that was signed by acting city manager Susan Grant. So it's just a little bit of trivia there. But one of the things that is unique about this is they designed a lawn area outside of City Hall. And that has kind of been a staple of the events in Coral Springs. From holiday events and community events, they bring food trucks out there, they bring bands out there, and it's just an activated area that the community comes together in. The next example, and again, you can see the difference in the massing of the buildings, the shapes of the building, and the looks of the buildings. This is in Sunrise. This opened in 2024. It was a 5-story complex with 100,000 square feet. It also included a 500-space parking garage. It also had very similar delivery of commission chambers. Most of the city operating departments are based in City Hall, and both of them had a kind of a one-stop shop for customer services. The other two examples I'm going to illustrate are two that are currently under construction in the state of Florida. The first one is Largo. Largo is a little unique. It's supposed to open up in early 2025. It has 90,000 total square feet with 18,000 square feet of retail space. They're envisioning having 10 to 14 tenants that bring cafe, restaurants, just your kind of side street type of environment. Here, obviously, you can see there's open pavilion space, a lot of gathering space in front of it, a public plaza. The building itself is has a 5-story parking garage with about 400 parking spaces, and it will house about 200 city employees. And then the last example is Clearwater. Clearwater is currently in construction, just started at the end of 2024. It's expected to be delivered in July of 2026. It's a 3-story building with 42,000 square feet. It will kind of create a campus environment. They have a PDHQ next adjacent to it. They have a municipal services building and also a parking garage nearby. It will house charter officers, elected officials. They're going to have a public relations room, some back-of-house operations, conference space, and they're also having a rooftop gathering space. So that's a couple examples of different deliveries of City Hall and what they look and feel like, from the shape, the size, the massing, and the amenities. As we talked about earlier, the site selection is probably one of the initial decisions that we need to focus on. Mayor, I'll be looking to see if there's any feedback today or if we want to defer that conversation to the goal setting at the end of the month. But what I did today on this slide is there's really 3 city properties downtown. That was a common theme we heard, was downtown. The City Hall site, which is a little over 2 acres. You have the Fort Lauderdale Police Headquarters site. There's about 8.94 acres that is left over outside of the police headquarters. There's existing buildings there that the city utilizes, the fleet services, Parks and Rec, some other services that are provided there, but there's about 9 acres available that could be redeveloped. Another one that the city's talked about redeveloping a few times is the Riverwalk Center Garage in the downtown. That site is about 3 acres with 1.8 being the north parcel and 1.2 being the south parcel. So those are 3 kind of downtown city-owned properties for consideration. Outside of that, there's a handful of different options the commission could consider. Purchasing a move-in ready building, purchasing a site that could be developed into a future city hall, pursuing a land swap opportunity where maybe there's another building that would meet our needs and we could trade properties, or we could pursue long-term rental options. So with that, Mayor, I'll take a pause and see if there's any feedback on site selection.
Mayor, I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Regarding the property for the Fort Lauderdale Police Headquarters, you said, is that number, the 8.94 acres, is that including those buildings, or is the buildings included in that acreage?
The 8.94 is everything outside of the new PDHQ. So that would include where the fleet building is. That would include the radio tower and the Parks and Recs building. So those would have to be considered as part of the redevelopment effort of where they would be housed during that time.
Isn't the radio tower going away?
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's part of the 8.94.
It is.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the new building. It's the whole parcel less the new building.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Just to find out, at our goal setting workshop this month, are we going to have a discussion in terms of ways to even approach the whole project, unsolicited proposal, solicited proposal, doing
I think
a bond?
that's a good time. It's a good time for us to discuss it. Then.
Public-private partnership, all these different options that are out there. Are we going to have that conversation?
Yes, that's going to be part of what we're doing at goal setting, yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So I would suggest in the past, we only had our goal setting session last maybe 2 or 3 hours. I would suggest budgeting your time for it more than that next time.
And we scheduled extra time.
I know,
on your calendars,
I know you did, but we collectively should consider that. It won't be the 3 days like it once was, but I don't know how we talked for 3 days less. But
You talked for 3 days.
oh, that was the reason. Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. You're welcome. Any other questions of Mr. Rogers?
I guess we'll go into this at the goal setting meeting, but when you talk about land swap opportunities, have they been identified what we would swap and where?
So there's 2 ways you could look at land swaps. 1, someone proposing it to us and coming to us with a proposal. And then 2, if we would identify a parcel or a property that we would want to go see if they would be interested in a land swap. Typically with the land swap deal, it's up to negotiations to get a fair and balanced deal. The one caveat is you have to have a municipal purpose or a reason for the land swap. In this case, it would be the government building of the city hall.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Wait. Why does it have? What do you mean it has to be a municipal purpose for a land swap?
For a land swap, you have to declare a municipal purpose of what the property would be used for.
If we choose another piece of land.
That's correct.
Okay, I understand. All right. All right.
The other thing, and this is just for preparation for the goal setting, is what is City Hall going to look and feel like? You know, I've heard different concepts and different ideas of who goes in City Hall. Is it all staff? Is it just administrative staff? Is it just frontline service delivery? You know, all of that will impact what the mass of the building is, the square foot of the building, the shape of the size of the building. You also have ancillary use of equipment and vehicles. So the more people you bring, the more parking garage, more parking space you need to have. So we really want the commission to take a step back and be ready at goal setting to talk about who they envision in City Hall. And so that way we can kind of get that initial square footage idea and come up with that ballpark cost estimate from the get-go to make sure that we're all aligned and moving forward.
So didn't we do a needs assessment once upon a time? Where is that?
Yeah, and we do have that there was one before, and then during the joint process with the county, we have all that data and the information as far as the number of employees and what departments, et cetera. So yeah, we have that, and that would be a good starting point.
All right. So has that been reviewed? That's been several
Well,
years.
and interesting, it was pre-COVID. So,
Yeah.
you know, it probably could use some dusting off and updating.
Okay.
And Mayor, a good example is like the Transportation Mobility Department, right? There's 50 people who work in that building, but there's a little over 100 employees who are in that department. So they have satellite offices or check-in points. They have equipment. Do they still work from the 290 building for those individuals, and then the office people move over? Or is it truly everyone moves into City Hall, and now we have an operational back-of-house consideration to work through? So there's a lot of those type of things that, you know, we can guide the commission on or talk through with the commission. But you are correct, as part of the joint government process we went through Broward County, we do have a good starting point. It's just really what does the commission envision as who's in City Hall?
And that's okay, but I think we need to hear from you guys, each department head, as to what your needs are. I mean, I don't know how your department functions. You know, you know better than we do. So is it necessary to have everybody under one roof? Right now, I know a lot of you are dispersed out of necessity, not out of desire. So come back to us with some sort of refined measurement as to what the needs are of the city. Plus, since COVID, our employee population has increased by several hundred. So, okay.
And then public space considerations, commission chambers, is it one large room? Is it one medium, one small? You know, what do you envision commission chambers? We have a lot of public meetings. Right now, one of our deficiencies, in my opinion, is that we don't have a lot of rooms for the boards and the committees to have gatherings, public meeting space. One of the things I've heard through some of the other cities that we've reached out to is that they would have designed more conference rooms, more public space, more undefined areas and lobbies, things like that for people to gather in and be together. You know, I've heard arts and cultural experiences. Do we have a small art gallery? Do we have a historical reference? You know, all of those things don't have to be fully defined at this point, but they do take square footage. And so, again, as we try to get that initial cost estimate, building mass and size, some of these are things that we want to hear back from the commission on the importance or what they would like to see.
Will that information that's being shared with us at our meeting, as far as off-site departments, they're paying for space, they're renting space, correct? With that, will we be able to know how much yearly they're paying for that space, and then we can analyze that with what it may save us to be under one roof or vice versa?
Yeah,
Would that be included?
Yeah, absolutely. We can put a summary together. Some of the departments that have been freestanding own property, such as the Transportation Mobility and the DSD building, and then others that have been displaced because of the City Hall have obviously rent associated with it. So we can put that summary together for your understanding.
Okay, thank you.
And then, Mayor, the third bucket of consideration is just under amenities. You know, right now we have a wellness center that's located on the north side of the city. You know, do we incorporate that in the future footprint of City Hall? Do we look at cafeterias or a cafe or a coffee shop space, not just for city staff, but for those who come to public meetings to be able to grab something in between meetings or what have you? You know, a media room and press room as the world evolves, technology, and having that space where interviews can be conducted, where we can respond to emergencies or disasters and have kind of a central gathering point for those type of things. A daycare center was brought up as part of the Joint Government Center, rooftop terraces, health facilities, all of those type of things, again, to just try to get the Commission's understanding or feedback on the importance for those type of things in the future City Hall.
Got it. Okay. Any other questions? Does that complete your presentation?
That completes my presentation.
Okay. Thank you so much. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Herbst. None. Commissioner Beasley Pittman.
Thank you for the mic.
You've
Thank
been
you,
a busy
thank you.
lady, I know, because I've been at a lot of your events.
Yes, we've been sharing some space together. It's been a great opportunity during the holiday season to be out with our neighbors and interacting with the many events that have been cohabitated. We partnership with some of those neighborhoods. So we can start with Thursday, December 19th. In the mayor's office, we had the honor of my mayor. Who else was with us, Mayor, at that event in your office?
For the Hanukkah
The lighting,
menorah,
yeah, yes, the
we
Hanukkah.
had various rabbis
Yes.
there. It was a nice gathering.
It truly was, and it was a great opportunity for me to experience that ceremony, and I was very humbled to be invited and being able to attend. It was really, really nice. On Thursday, December the 26th, it was the lighting of the menorah on the loop at the beach, and I got to actually light the candle for the second day. John was there, Commissioner Herbst, Mayor, and I, and other rabbis. And again, it was a humbling experience and opportunity to see our community stand together in unity. And at that time, just believing in shedding the light that we need right now in this world overall. And then also on Friday the 27th, it was the Kwanzaa celebration. We were able to attend at Bass Park. The mayor and I was there. The mayor came in dancing a little bit. You know, you have to see that for yourself.
Yeah.
Also,
There were no cameras, were
yeah,
there?
yeah. I don't know. There's always a camera somewhere. I'm gonna hold it against you, but we'll go. Exactly. See, I'm holding that video for the right time. In attendance as well was Susan Grand and Chris Cooper and Anthony Fahara. Great opportunity to celebrate Kwanzaa with our community. Bass Park is actually my home park. I grew up in the neighborhood. I remember when Bass Park ribbon cutting was back in the 70s. I was about 8 or 9 years old. And to be able to come back and be in the community celebrating with my neighbors. Some of the seniors that watched me grow up, they were in attendance. So it's a great opportunity. Looking forward to watching it continue to blossom again. It was at a different level this year than what really kind of familiar with, and looking forward to working with Parks and Rec. They always do a great job with the presentation, and again, just bringing it to the next level, because Kwanzaa is very much embraced in many of the communities and across the nation. Opportunities for those 7 principles to be embraced and be a part of everyone's lifestyle. Also, one of the I've shared this before, and it's not that I feel I have to explain, but I do like to share. New Year's Eve, I'm usually not in attendance to the anchor drop. I'm also a minister, and we have a service, a church service, so I'm in church on New Year's Eve, and some of my colleagues asked that I whisper a prayer for them. I did. So know that I did honor your request. And we're looking forward for a great year, 2025. And that is going to conclude. No, it won't conclude yet. I'm sorry. Let me tell you what's coming up. We've been away a little bit. Let me share what's coming up. Okay. Monday, January the 20th, is the Martin Luther King Parade. It will be starting on 6 Trunk Boulevard, and it ends at Carter Park, lining up at the Longshoremen's building, which is 440 West 6 Trump Boulevard. Also, that day is also known as United Day of Volunteers, and there is an opportunity for everyone to come over to Providence Park, which is also on 6th Trunk, directly across from the YMCA, to volunteer with some of the activities that our neighborhood support has put into place. So we invite you all to come out and enjoy that day with us. Also, January 21st and 22nd, again, we have the Infinite Scholarship Fair that comes to Broward County, to Fort Lauderdale, that we house. It invites our scholars from high school for an opportunity to receive scholarships. We have usually 30 to 40 colleges on hand, and the students are actually interviewed by an admissions officer. Of course, there's a scale that they go through, and many of our neighbors, our scholars, they receive admittance on the spot with scholarship money. And they come, when I say they, the organizations, those colleges, they come with about $30 million ready to give out. And last year, it was about right at $24 million that they were able to give to our students here in the city of Fort Lauderdale, as well as Broward County. So this is a great opportunity.
It's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. I have been privileged over the years to watch our young people come in. They're shining. They have their resumes. They have everything in hand, and they have gone from table to table and walk away with offers from 6, 7, 8 colleges. And then they're able to take that time and decide where they want to go as well. Full rise, great opportunity. So this is something that's very dear and to my heart, and I really appreciate the organization that comes to town to support this. And most recently, we were able to get the school board to also be participants with it. They now provide bus transportation from the schools to the venue for those juniors and high schoolers, juniors and senior high schoolers, to be a part of the opportunity. So this is a great opportunity. So I'm going to clone myself a little bit. I may be a little tad late on the 21st, but I will be in place. And then also Saturday, January 25th, this is climaxing, in a sense, the Martin Luther King celebration. There's an annual gospel explosion that's held at Lincoln Park. It starts at 3 p.m., and that is the Saturday, January 25th. So with that being said, those are some of the things that that are coming up in District 3. And I love to say all of this, of course, is city-wide opportunities for all of us. Thank you, and Happy New Year to everyone.
Great. Thank you so much, Commissioner. Vice Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, and definitely Happy New Year to everyone as well. Let's see, Wednesday, December 18th was basically wrapped up all of the District 2 holiday parties, association parties. On that particular evening, we also attended the unveiling of Nativo, a very unique concept that's going to be built at 606 East Broward Boulevard. The entire building will be basically vacation rentals, apartments.
Well, they're condos.
Yeah,
they're condos that can be used as vacation rentals. Yeah.
Right, but I think that's the whole premise, is that it's going to be vacation rentals. And I know, as I mentioned that night in my comments, that will actually make some of the neighborhood associations, I think, kind of happy to have one building dedicated to just vacation rentals at downtown, as opposed to the intrusion into the neighborhoods. That evening, we also stopped off at the Downtown Civic Association party. Thank you, Commissioner, for letting us cross the boundary and come into District 4 for that event. And thank you to the president of the association, Ms. Bowker, for actually inviting us. And then the evening wrapped up with the Flagler Village Civic Association holiday party as well. So that was a busy night, and then I left town for a while. So it was all good. Upcoming, we have Wednesday, January 8th. I guess that's tomorrow. I'll be attending at the Convention Center. I always enjoy hearing the importance of what's happening with Visit Lauderdale and how that affects our economy in Fort Lauderdale. So I will attend that tomorrow. Thursday, January 9th, is the first of several openings at the Pier 66. We've got a couple of restaurants opening up, and then also I think we have the groundbreaking. I'm sorry, not the groundbreaking, the ribbon cutting. I apologize. On Friday, January 10th, we actually have the ribbon cutting for the Pier 66 project as well. Monday, January 13th, I will attend the Beach Business Improvement District's annual strategic planning meeting over at the Aquatic Center, and that should be a really good meeting. That's a great program where the businesses basically tax themselves to help with all of the upkeep and everything that goes into making the beach a welcoming place. Just a couple of comments, Mayor. I'm hoping that tonight, during the moment of silence, we can remember Rendell Perkins, who very suddenly and very tragically and unexpectedly, by the way, from Ashbrit, I guess just had a heart attack, I think, while jogging at 60 years old, and passed away. And that was shocking news to members in the community, and I'm hoping that we can remember him in tonight's moment of silence. I also wanted to just a shout out, really important. I'm sure people have been reading about what's been happening on the beach with the Springbrook Gardens condominium and the difficult decision that those unit owners have to face in terms of really not being able to afford the maintenance and what's going to happen. And it really will probably just behoove them to sell their building to a developer. Because
What building is this?
Springbrook Gardens? Yeah, there have been several articles in the newspaper. But I really want to pay particular thank you to Joe Pasquarello, assistant building official. His communication with not just my office, but also all of the residents. This has been a very stressful time for those 18 unit owners. It's been just really difficult. And Joe has been just amazing in terms of his constant communication. And I just wanted to say thank you for that, because it's been a very difficult situation. And lastly, Susan, I know that I've mentioned this over the years through different city managers, but I still to this day get complaints about how awful it is when people pull off I-95 on entrances to our city, especially like Broward Boulevard. It's just disgusting what greets them when they come off and enter our city. I don't know what we can do about it. I know that we're not responsible, but we have got to be able to clean up the Broward Boulevard exit, the Sunrise Boulevard exit, even to a certain extent the Oakland Park exit. But these are the entrances and the gateways to our city. I think right now there's a homeless camp on Broward Boulevard when you get off I-95 and come to our city. But we've just got to do something. I've been saying this for years and years and years. It's never gotten better, even not just when you get off, but even when you get on to I-95 from those places, you're just greeted for quite a while with just tons of garbage, and it's horrendous, and I don't know why we can't clean it up. I've even had people say to me they'll pay for trees, they'll pay for landscaping, they'll pay for whatever it is to clean it up.
Who owns that, the state or the county?
FDOT.
State.
FDOT.
State.
And we've worked with them before, but yeah, we'll continue to work on that.
It's really bad right now, really bad, and it's just not a good look for when anyone is entering our city. That's all. Thanks. That's it for me, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioners Sorensen.
Thank you, Mayor, and Happy New Year. Great activities these past several weeks. Excited to be with you, Mayor, and the ribbon cutting of the River Oaks pump station, which will serve River Oaks and Edgewood neighborhoods, pumping 60,000 gallons of water per minute out of those neighborhoods, which is basically 6 swimming pool sizes of water going out every minute. So that's just fantastic. Excited about the impact.
Where is Ted?
That's going to have.
He left.
Yep, that's all right. We'll continue to celebrate that.
Okay.
So that's excellent. Was at the ribbon cutting for Johnny's Hungry Hoagies, which is basically on Broward and Federal, just east of Federal Highway. So that's great new business. A lot of great holiday parties. Holy Hammock downtown, Edgewood, River Oaks. Rio Vista. It was great being with Commissioner Beasley Pittman at Light Up Sistrunk and flipping the switch there. A couple nights ago, went to the Marine Advisory Board meeting, which was great. Got some good action items that we can partner with the Marine Advisory Board in improving our waterway cleanliness and other factors. So I'm already working on those. I'll give you all maybe an update once we make some further progress on that. So I think great partnership between the City Commission and them. Couple items wanted to touch on. Maybe first, Mayor, I'd just like to ask if the fire chief could come up, and just as we think about long-term planning, public safety, part of this has really come to the forefront for me in the tragedy that happened in New Orleans. So just wanted to get the fire chief, but then also the police chief, just to touch on, just from a very high level, what they're able to share. Just, Mayor, when I think long-term, so Chief, I'd love to hear just kind of generally resources, long-term planning across the city. How are we doing? What are opportunities? What are challenges that keep you up at night or you're thinking about?
All right. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Happy New Year. So when it comes to planning for the events, we have a very robust structure in place, beginning with the Parks and Rec, where first the application is put in. It's then looked at by various parts of our city to see resources to it, whether it's police officers or firefighters. There's a matrix that's put together that highlights exactly what's needed depending on the potential crowd or the threat to the crowd. Obviously an art fair is going to be different than a music concert based upon alcohol being served or what's transpiring during the event.
Great. And then when you're thinking long-term, Chief, like for example, in southern part of the city, we have on Southeast 11th Court, that fire station is going to be, groundbreaking at some point this year. What, just strategically, how are we doing across the city in terms of fire stations, resources, planning? Where are the gaps? What do we need to be doing?
So
if any?
Continuously watch the growth of the city and to see where our points of potential failure may be, and then work to deploy assets to those areas. We have Station 88, which is coming online hopefully in the next couple of years here at Southeast 11th Court, which will provide a heightened level of service to the Rio Vista and the growth to the south part of the downtown. We have a public-private partnership that'll be Station 117, supporting everything east of Federal Highway down to the Los Olas Isles and improving response times in that area, also the growth of that area. And, the next piece of the puzzle is the north part towards Flagler Village. And we've had some discussions in place with some of the developers in the area in regards to a potential deployment in the future of a fire station somewhere in the Searstown, Sunrise Federal area.
Okay, and how far along there or anywhere else are we in the planning or land acquisition or so forth?
So the first two that I mentioned, Station 88 and Station 117, those are moving along in the process. Station 117, you should see progress later on this year with the developer there. And Station 88, we have meetings later this week and hope to have shovels in the ground by mid-year. The north part, the Flagler area, at this point there's just been open discussions. As the area is beginning to develop, we're starting to see them come off the ground. We've identified some areas of potential building some relationships with some projects, possibly with the YMCA or the freestanding ER with Broward Health, looking in that area of just right across from Searstown in there. But there's nothing formalized at this point.
All right, thank you. That's helpful. I'm just thinking, and maybe you all have already been talking about this, but I just want to think about
I think every time there's a
planning.
terrorist act, it raises everyone's eyebrows and say, like, what are we doing now to prevent this from happening? You know, when we had the menorah lighting on the beach, I was standing on the stage and I'm thinking, geez, what happens if someone tried to run a truck through this crowd? You know, what precautions, what infrastructure do we have at Oceanside Park with barriers and balusters that are there in place to prevent a vehicle from, coming into that area? Those are the kinds of things. I mean, everyone was having fun eating jelly donuts and latkes, and I was trying to figure out how safe were we standing here with this crowd. And we got to be very careful of that. I mean, we can never anticipate a terrorist act, but in this day and age, you have to plan for any contingency. And so I agree with you 100%.
And I'll assure you, Mayor, that there's a very robust plan in place, and part of that plan is to be as discreet as we possibly can be. With over 300 special events in the city a year, our teams are amazing, and Chief Schultz will get up and speak a little bit on it as well. But there's so much going on in the background at every event to make sure that the community is safe as we possibly can be at any given moment. And it's our job to look past what's taking place and to develop the plans in place so that we're prepared should something happen during the event.
All right, thank you. And I guess Susan or Commissioner Glassman, I just defer to you on this idea. I'm hearing him, Chief, mentioning Holiday Park area, or I don't know if we're talking about that or thinking about that, but just that's something that comes to mind here.
Yep. We continue to work on it and think about different places that can be placed.
Okay. All right. Great. As long as we're tracking on that.
Does the YMCA footprint kind of take up most of the city property there? Do you recall?
It does take a large portion, as well as the potential part for the
Parking garage?
For the Broward Health portion that may be there.
Right.
But there's some opportunities, whether we've had discussions in regards to going in the first floor of the parking garage.
Right.
There's some area there just to the west of, I believe it's the maintenance shed there for Public Works or for Parks and Rec. We've discussed some of that area. We've also spoken with some of the developers in the area and have had conversations and that there is a need for a fire station up in there as it becomes more densely populated. So we're just kind of, at this point, opening communication and seeing where it goes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Great. That's great.
Do you have any
Thanks,
questions
Chief.
of the police chief?
Appreciate it. Yeah, and then Chief Schultz, if you wouldn't mind, just again, whatever you're able to share from a high level in terms of feeling resources, adapting to emerging threats. Thanks.
Sure. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Bill Schultz, Chief of Police. Just to touch base, the Fire Chief covered almost every aspect of our planning. But because we have so many special events, and we have for years, I mean, going back decades through our spring break experiences, we do have robust plans that we've been able to fine-tune over the years. For anyone who is on Las Olas this weekend for the Art Festival, hopefully you did see some of those perimeter hardening aspects that we put in place every time. But also in our city, we require any large event has to go before a committee. Police, fire, parks and recreations, transportation, public works, they all get a chance to interview those that are bringing events into our city. And then expectations are placed on them and coupled with our coordination with them for the security and safety of those events. So with, as he said, 300 plus events in our city every year, I feel that we have a very, very effective plan in place, but it can always be improved. And we will be making recommendations to the city manager on that.
Okay, great. And do you feel good about our process and how we approve events and so forth, and staffing levels and evaluating those?
Yes,
good. Okay.
The process has been effective to this point. Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Chief. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Mayor. Yeah. Great. Couple more items. Let's see. One. This is just question. Seating, Mayor. What's the genesis for our seating on the dais? Do you?
I have
curious.
no idea, because when I was a commissioner, I was in your seat, And
As
then-
District 2?
Are you unhappy with your location?
I was just wondering why.
I'm just.
Is it?
I could always.
Get-
There's a breath mint here. I could.
Well, I
use.
know. I know you might want me off in the audience, but I was-
just let me know if there's an issue.
Right. No,
I
it-
didn't
Whatever
realize there
pain
was,
you suffer, I suffer
I-
equally.
Right, exactly.
I didn't
Right.
realize there was a problem.
no
Okay.
no
okay.
problem. But is it?
Well,
was it done?
Commissioner Herbst is in the first seat, and
But-
if anything, we would just switch them because 1, 2,
Okay.
3, 4. You're still
Right.
you're still stuck there.
Well, I was just I mean, I was just wondering
Is there
what the
seniority?
genesis was.
I don't know. I think Charlotte Rodstrom was the one that required your Charlotte Rodstrom, your predecessor.
Predecessor?
Well, one of them. Anyway, so I think when she was elected in what 2007, she asked not to be at the end, and I think that's why you're sitting where you're sitting today.
Okay, I was just because it's not sequential; it's just
You can call her up and ask her.
scattered. Okay,
Ask her why.
if you are all fine with it, I'm fine with it. But it was just interesting how we do it. Okay.
Do you have any recommended changes?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, the only recommended change that I would have is just somehow sequentially, but it's just trying to understand why we sit where we sit.
There is no rhyme or reason.
Yeah.
There's
Okay.
no rhyme or
The
reason.
things that keep people up at
Yeah,
night.
yeah.
Wow.
It's the Navy in me.
Wow,
I like
just-
things in order,
Wow. Okay.
sequential,
You know what?
but that's fine. Next topic is
He's going to want you to salute next time. when
Tunnel
you talk to
Bridge.
him.
We'll let him stand at ease for the time being. Tunnel Bridge. I wanted to get just kind of an update where we are, what's next. So Susan, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to call up the other Ben
Okay,
Rogers.
great, thanks.
And he'll give you a report on some things we've done since we were together last.
All right. Any specific questions or just an update?
So last time we talked, so we passed a resolution, right, saying
Which I signed yesterday.
tunnel, which you signed. Okay, thanks. Is that being communicated to the county?
That'll be communicated to the county, yeah.
Okay,
Great. It's going out today.
it's going out today. Okay.
With a request for a joint meeting that we asked about.
Yes, the
Don't
request will
hold
be
your breath.
going as well.
Okay.
That would be part of the transmittal.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Excellent. So then we talked about, okay, what's next? So we are interested in applying for federal dollars. So I know that's one. There's some engineering and technical work that we have to explore for applying for FRA funding, Build America funding, and so forth. So interested on kind of what our thinking is on that. And I think there's also, I don't know if there's an updated analysis coming on bridge and or tunnel. So yeah, those are my questions.
Perfect. So at your request last time, it was to try to figure out how much funding we would need and the timeline to deliver some kind of design, if it's 10% or 30%, so that way we would have a baseline package that we could go after federal funding for.
Okay.
I'm meeting with BDO and we're talking through that with the holidays and some other things. We don't have that for you at this time. I'm going to guess it'll probably be another 30 days before I come back and have something substantial for your consideration. What we have been doing.
So say that again. In 30 days?
I'm hoping in 30 days I can come back and say we would need X number of dollars if you wanted to take this to the next kind of step or phase.
Next step or phase to apply for federal dollars.
Right.
For the tunnel.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Great.
it's going to be a little bit broad when
Yep.
we come back because every grant has different requirements and different elements that need to be completed to be eligible for that grant. So it might not be a all fits one type of model, but we'll come back with some information of potential next steps to move the project forward.
Okay.
But what we've been focused on over the last couple of weeks is really the TY Lynn report came out. The county's put out some more information on the bridge dual concept, and so we haven't analyzed it formally from the city perspective. We didn't have BDO do a full report for us. They didn't summarize it. They did some general observations. They did some high level things. But that was one of the things that we're working on now is to try to figure out what level of effort we put into reviewing the bridge stuff. So I don't know if the commission has any feedback on that or not. But right now we just have the bridge memo, and I don't know if the commission wants a technical memo that identifies or
I think the commission is deserving of the analysis that BDO has done with regard to the bridge concept. because I had the opportunity to hear their analysis, but I think it would be great if BDO could come to the commission and hear their presentation, because I think it would be eye-opening, and it would give us as a governing body an opportunity to be all on the same page, and everyone is aware of all the facts and figures as much as any single member of this commission is. So is that possible?
Yeah, what we need to do is probably issue a task order to BDO. We do have funds still in the project that we identified for grant writing.
Right.
We didn't pursue that grant opportunity, so we still have those funds. I think we have around $50,000 left. So I think all we need to do is, as staff, create a task order that would define what we want the memo to deliver, include some presentation time, and then schedule them for upcoming.
It shouldn't cost anywhere near that. Just for an hour or something that they can either be on screen or wherever if they don't want to come down here. But I do think that there's a lot of information that this commission should hear that I've been made privy to, and I think that everyone should be on the same page. And I think that we should invite the county as well if they want to tune in, and because I think it's eye-opening. I was very disturbed to hear Commissioner Geller's response to our resolution having been passed, where he just blatantly came out and said, "Well, we're never going to have commuter rail." It wasn't really a good response, and I'm hoping that we can somehow come to some compromise here. But to slam the door in our face like that, I just thought was not a way to move forward. So maybe if we have that opportunity where it's a public presentation, where everybody in the community can see it and hear it, including members of the county commission, I think that would be helpful and instructive.
Okay, and I think the only concern I have, or the feedback is, I think what BDO has done so far is put some observations together, but they haven't developed some of the technical aspects or put it into a technical memo that they can, put out and say this is our position on it. So I do think it's going to cost a little more than less.
Well, how much?
But I do think we have enough funding in the budget to cover it right now.
Oh, well, keep in mind, I'm not an engineer, and no one on this panel is an engineer, so we're not going to be able to understand too deeply, all the technical aspects. But the overall understanding of, trying to build a bridge, or I should say four bridges, is really going to be very instructive. And I think that everyone should be able to have that opportunity to see, even if it's a low level analysis, not a ground level, but enough so that people see where we're going, and maybe the county would be better understanding of some of the ideas that they've put out and the feasibility of trying to implement those ideas. So work with them, but I do think the commission needs to have that opportunity.
So work within our available budget of the project and negotiate a task order to have them come present.
But sooner than later. No, I don't want this happening in April, like as soon as possible.
Understood.
All right,
Okay.
great.
What would be the timing of that, Ben? Like, how soon can we get?
I'll need to touch base with them. Obviously, the next meeting is probably too soon. The conference presentation in February, the first meeting is scheduled for the city manager recruitment process. So I think the earliest would probably be the second meeting in February, unless we wanted to figure out a way to do a special meeting or include it somehow.
Well, when does the county meet? Do they meet on Tuesdays?
I believe they do, yes.
The county meets on Tuesdays, right?
Yeah.
So we don't want it interfering with their meeting if we're having a presentation. So it might be helpful to have it on an alternate date, an alternate day of the week, so that we're not interfering with their commission meeting.
Okay.
But how would this interfere with theirs? Like,
Because if we're having a presentation during our conference meeting and they're having their commission meeting, they're not going to be able to participate in, and observe the presentation by BDO. They'll be having their meeting.
Okay.
So they wouldn't be able to participate.
Okay.
But
I hear you. I mean, I'm sure they'll track it, somehow how they might track it anyway. So
right.
I'd say timing's sooner rather than later.
Sooner rather than later.
Yeah.
So, and Ben, if they're available, we can get it on for the 22nd, or try to at least.
All right. Why don't we try
22nd of February?
Yeah.
I'm thinking if January.
January.
January
If they're
22nd is
available.
our next meeting, which is the two Wednesdays from tomorrow.
That'd be great.
And actually, that'll be a Wednesday, so it won't be
Wednesday.
when the
Oh,
county
good point.
is
There you
meeting.
go.
Have they moved their date that week, or are they
I
still
don't
meeting
think
on
so.
They haven't. They're adjourned.
Oh, that's right. They don't come back till the 28th.
28th,
28th.
right.
Never mind.
Okay, great.
So we will shoot
Let's aim
for
for
that.
that.
I just
Thanks.
don't know the level of delivery that BDO will have in 2 weeks, but we will shoot
Okay.
for that. Just want to make sure that the commission was good with us using the available funds to deliver whatever task order is associated.
Okay, great. That's great. Thank you very much. Mayor, thank you. That's all I've got.
Okay, great. I just have a few things. You've pretty much mentioned everything, all of you. I just want to say the anchor drop on New Year's Eve was really a tremendous success. I want to thank Parks and Rec for doing an amazing job at putting that together again, and also the police department for keeping the crowds safe. It was probably the largest crowd I've ever witnessed all the years that I've been part of this, and everyone was having a great time. Most of the people there were, I would say, a mix of Fort Lauderdale as well as visitors, but everyone just seems to was having a great time. Everyone's very optimistic about the new year, and the anchor dropped on time at midnight, and so that was a great success. So thank you so much for everyone who made that happen. We also had former Commissioner Bobby DeBose's young son, who we brought up on stage, and he helped with the countdown, so that was fun. I think he's 6 years old. Yeah, so he was having a good time. Let's see. So tomorrow we have the Zoom meeting with Representative Campbell regarding our legislative priorities. Hope we can all attend that. And then that same day, tomorrow, there's a luncheon at the Tower Club. Brenda Foreman's Lawyers and Friends. Brenda Foreman, of course, is our clerk of the court, and she has invited me to give a talk on various things regarding the city, and so I'll be hosting that event tomorrow. The next day we have the League of Cities meeting. I understand, Commissioner, you're not going to be able to attend, so I'm going to attend that, and I'll be talking to them about the New River Crossing and also about homelessness. I think that these are both county issues, and I think that I'd like to entertain a conversation at that meeting regarding them. Let's see. We have the ribbon cutting, as you mentioned, Commissioner. That's on January 10th at 10 a.m. at Pier 66. Boy, that's a long time coming. They put hundreds of millions of dollars into that site. And is it 10:30? Well, if you want the bagels, you have to come at 10.
I'll be there at 9.
Okay, right. And then there is a luncheon at the Lauderdale Yacht Club for the Port Everglades. That's at 11:30. Let's see. Senator Osgood, that same day, that afternoon, she's going to be discussing legislative priorities, and she'll be meeting at my office. Anyone who's interested, certainly welcome to attend. She'll be seeking feedback from us as to what we feel she should be doing in the next legislative session. Let's see. On the 12th, Imperial Point is having their annual meeting at the Imperial Point Hospital. That's at 6:30 p.m.
And Mayor, I think that's the 13th.
I'm sorry?
I think that's the 13th.
The 13th? Okay, it says the 12th here. Okay, the 13th. And on the 14th, I'll be taking a tour of the Valuetainment headquarters on Cypress Creek Road. Everyone's welcome to attend. That's at 4 p.m., a new business in town. On the 15th, American Meetings, Inc. is having their annual meeting here in Fort Lauderdale at the Hyatt Centric. I'll be presenting a proclamation at 2:30 p.m. that day. And then next weekend, I'll be in Washington attending the U.S. Conference of Mayors. It'll be an interesting experience because so many people will be there for the inauguration, so I'm sure Washington will be abuzz with a lot of visitors who would not otherwise be there. So it's going to be. I'll bring back with news of what we discussed and concluded at the conference. And then, of course, the commission prioritization workshop, which we discussed. I hope you're all looking forward to that. I just have a couple of issues, actually really one issue I want to discuss, and that's with staff. 13th Street and the rezoning. I thought we got through all that, and maybe Chris, if you could come up here and talk to us a little bit about why are we looking to upgrade the zoning up to 10 stories on part of Middle River Terrace? Is there someone who could talk to us about that? I don't think that's ever been a goal of that neighborhood. So maybe there's some misunderstanding here.
So I do think there's a bit of a misunderstanding. So the area of concern and part of this rezoning effort with the Central City Advisory Board is the area from 4th Avenue east to the railroad tracks up to about 13th Street. So you have a couple different zoning districts in there. There's business zoning districts kind of on the perimeter, and then an RMM 25 residential district in the middle. The business zoning districts, I believe, already allow up to 150 feet in height. So there's no real change in the one proposal from what's currently permitted to what's contemplated being permitted in the future, other than the levels of approval it would go through.
Okay.
There is a proposal out there to reduce the overall height allowed in those areas to a much lower height. But the current height of 150 feet, or about 10 stories or a little bit more, is already permitted in those commercial areas.
What's the height by right?
I believe along 13th Street is 150 feet.
By right.
By right.
Okay. So why are people? What is the discussion then about 10 stories in the southern part of Middle River Terrace? I guess that would be south of 13th Street, Commissioner?
Yeah, but okay. So just to take this back a little bit, this whole rezoning has been going on now for about, I think, 5-6 years. We've done incremental changes, like in South Middle River, but this has just been a really slow process. But I think there's also a lot of misinformation going on out there right now about this. I know that the CRA board is meeting on the 13th, so this will all be finalized on the 13th.
Well, finalized and discussed, right? I mean, I'm getting emails, people very upset about the process and also the goal, and I just want to clarify.
Well, I think the process is, I don't know why people would be upset with the process. It's been very transparent over the bunch of years that this has been happening. It's been, as I said, there have been a lot of phases to this rezoning. We've gone through several consultants on this project. We've been following it, but it's always been done with a tremendous amount of public input. It's always been done with open hearings, public input, public hearings. I'm trying to figure out.
Well, I have a message from the president of the association saying there are last-minute substantial changes, and I want to know.
Well, that's one association out of all. The CRA board is comprised of several neighborhoods, not just one.
Well, this is Middle River Terrace.
Yes,
his association.
I understand, but you have South Middle River, you have Middle River Terrace, you have Lake Ridge, you have Poinsettia Heights, plus the Central City Alliance. You have all of those entities that have been participating, and I think at the end of the day, what we're going to find is there'll be a consensus. Not everyone might be happy with the consensus, but I think what you're going to find is a consensus because, as I said, you have all of those entities involved, all of those neighborhoods involved. But I think the most important thing is that, especially at the CRA advisory board meeting on the 13th, that all of this misinformation gets sort of sorted out. We have to make sure. There's a lot of rumors flying, and as I said, misinformation. But I think overall, it's been handled in a very transparent way throughout these 6 years that I've been watching this process for that rezoning effort.
Okay. There is, and I would also add that what the CRA advisory board is doing now is coming up with a recommendation that would then come to you as a commission to give staff direction on moving forward. So there's still a tremendous amount of process involved in public engagement and input available between when the advisory board makes the recommendation to when it comes back to you to give staff direction to go back to the community to actually implement this zoning district, go through planning and zoning board, and bring back to the commission for adoption at some point in the future. So this is not an end point next week. It's more of a beginning to the next phase.
Okay.
And this is really also nothing new, Mayor, because I remember when we were, going back and forth with what we were going to do with 8th Avenue and South Middle River. There was a lot of misinformation. Neighborhoods that were not even impacted on the other side of Power Line were weighing in. A lot of rumors flying. That had to all get sorted out. We did get that sorted out, and I think actually at the commission level we did reverse. Didn't we reverse planning and zoning? We liked the original staff proposal on 8th Avenue, and we actually did have that opportunity as a commission. We reversed what they said, and we brought it back to what the neighborhood actually wanted on 8th Avenue. So I think we've been doing, a good job on this. It's just,
All right.
It's just got some growing pains.
Okay. All right. Thank you. One other thing, 15th Avenue, Northeast 15th Avenue. Now, sitting on the MPO board for these years, 15th Avenue, the redesign and redevelopment of 15th Avenue from Sunrise to 13th Street has finally percolated to the top of the list and is scheduled for funding. But the funding is not going to take place for at least, I think, 7 years. Yeah. In the meantime, and so 7 years to get funding, then begins the design, then the construction. So at the end of the day, it's going to be 10 years before anything changes. Right now, that street looks like hell. It's got potted plants that are all dead. They're strewn across the street because people bump into these planters. It's just not befitting of what we want to see in the city of Fort Lauderdale. We've got to come up with a better approach to this. I'm going to bring this up at the next MPO meeting, but all they're going to say to me is, well, it's in line to be funded, it's going to get done, but we have to be a little bit better. We have to be a little bit better at this than they are prepared to be. It's just a couple of blocks. So from their point of view, it's a speck considering the entire county that they have to deal with. But I drive it every single day. I see it every single day. It's disgusting. And, people are starting to buy properties along that stretch and redevelop it. And the street just looks horrendous. So if there's anything we can do to improve what's currently there, we'd appreciate that. All right. And that's everything from me, City Manager.
No reports for me. Just Happy New Year.
City Attorney.
Sure. Just wanted to give you an update on the public camping situation. I spoke with General Counsel for the Sheriff's Office today to get a grasp and understanding of their stance with regards to accepting municipal law individuals detained, municipal law violators. Their stance remains the same. What Mr. Lynch explained to me is that there is no authorization for them, or that's the position that they're taking. There's no authorization for them to accept municipal law violators. So a housing agreement is necessary between the municipalities and the county would have to work out additional compensation to defray the cost of housing those individuals. What he has also indicated is that because they are obligated to accept violators of county ordinances and are accepting those who are brought to them for violating the county ordinance, the county.
So why don't we just violate these folks under the county ordinance?
And so we've spoken with our police legal advisor and our prosecutors, and I believe that's the stance that we will be advising PD to take.
Going forward?
Yes.
Okay.
Give us a summary of the county's ordinance? Similar?
It is, well, we're a little bit broader because we have some violations that can occur during the daytime, but their ordinance does focus on the prohibited sleeping and camping overnight on public property, and provides very similar remedies or penalties for doing so.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so that would be helpful to us then.
It will.
Okay.
And so that's it on that. Something that Commissioner Sorensen said the last month with regards to me and my role as interim has gotten me thinking a little bit. He asked, what is it that the commission can do? What I was thinking about is doing an employment contract to capture some of the benefits that are generally not captured based on my current role as a deputy serving as interim city attorney. And in particular, I'm concerned about a possible severance package. So what I think it would look like is in terms of an employment contract with me as regards to my role as deputy, but understanding that the charter provides the city attorney with the full authority to demote and terminate that position, but providing for a severance arrangement that should occur when I return to my role as a deputy. So if you're open to discussions of those terms and additional compensation or benefits and the interim role, I'd be open to entering those conversations.
You're talking about a severance package should you not be selected as city attorney and you go back to being deputy?
I go back to being deputy, and if the new city attorney decides that a new direction is necessary, which is fully their responsibility, that a severance package is considered.
What was the context? I'm sorry, I don't remember what Commissioner Sorensen brought up. So if you could maybe just put this into context of what he had brought up as a topic, because I'm not remembering it.
Well, you all were discussing the selection of the new city attorney, and Commissioner Sorensen just brought up my functioning as interim and thought it would be nice to do something in addition for me in this role and recognizing my functioning in this role.
So that's when Commissioner Lachmeyer brought up, can we change his title, so forth, that discussion. And so city attorney is bringing up, I think, a fair question of the process for him if he's not selected and if the new city attorney were to terminate his employment.
Okay.
So I think, just speaking for myself, Dwayne, I think that's absolutely appropriate and an important discussion to have in whatever way you think's appropriate.
Okay.
And
well, you could circulate a proposal and just, and then we'll provide feedback at a conference meeting if that's what you're thinking of. Is that kind of what you're thinking of?
We have time to think about it. I just wanted to put the idea out there to get you thinking about it, and we can talk about a process.
Okay.
Along those lines, Mayor, it actually brings up a question of mine, which is, I'd just like to talk just for a few minutes about so we have a city manager search going on right now. We are in the early stages of starting a city attorney search. What is the role of the current acting interim city attorney and city manager during that time? So just some of the questions I have that I just want to get clear on is, can candidates for the job reach out to the current interim and acting city attorney and city manager and ask questions or get feedback and so forth? I think that's fine. I want to check and make sure we're all, as a commission, we're all in agreement.
I think it would actually be helpful for the process for a prospective candidate to say, hey, what's the job all about? What kind of responsibilities are there?
Yeah, and I've had one person at least reach out to me, and I'd be happy to talk to any of the candidates to give them a feel for what we're doing right now.
Good. So yeah, I think that's great. So I wanted to be clear on that. I think that's helpful and positive. Is that fair, Dwayne?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I do intend to be a candidate myself, but I am open to speaking with any of the other
just
candidates.
Like people who come to me and say, what's it like to be mayor? And, I have to...
Yeah, you have to take 3 hours to regale them. Okay, great. Then what, as the interim city and acting city manager, I would think, but you all give me feedback on this, of in your role, as you interact with or are aware of candidates, I would think it would be helpful for you not to express preference on one person or another or so forth. Is that fair, or should the city manager and city attorney be comfortable expressing preferences? Just want to kind of talk through that too.
So my position would be a little bit different. Again, I'm going to be a candidate.
Yep.
So there's only one clear choice in my vote.
Right. Good. I like the confidence. Good.
So I don't really have an answer in terms of that. I would not be making any other recommendations to you with regards to the candidates, and I'd feel uncomfortable commenting to city commissioners with regards to the qualification of these other candidates. I mean, I do have senior staff in our office who I think are very impartial. If you would rather that I refer these individuals to someone like a Paul Bengal, who's been in the office for a long time and has a very good feel for what goes on in the office, rather than myself, I mean, I'm open to that as well.
Yeah, no, I think it's fine. You having the conversations you want. I guess one of my concerns is if either of you is being critical of other candidates for either of these jobs to city staff or otherwise. So that's just a concern. Is that a fair concern to have? And yeah, give me your feedback on that.
I think the five of you are the individuals that make the decision in terms of hiring. There would be a concern about poisoning the pool for an incoming city attorney or incoming city manager if staff already has this impression that their predecessor has given them about that. So I think we're both professionals and wouldn't do anything to taint the tenure of the new individuals that would take these charter offices.
Yeah, okay. Support Great. Whoever gets hired.
Great. And by the way, I think just me personally, as we're evaluating as a commission candidates, I'm going to be talking with both of you individually about, hey, as we look at these candidates, and I'd like you to give me your candid feedback. And I think that kind of should stay. If there's criticism of others, great. I'd like to hear it. But I think sharing that with staff might not be helpful, as you're saying, it sounds like. Agreed?
Yes, but again, in my case, I think that leaves me in a very uncomfortable position if I were to comment on other candidates.
Yep. Great. Fair, Susan?
Yeah, fair. Okay. If you ask, I'll
Great.
Give you whatever information you'd like or thoughts. That's
Perfect.
What we're here for.
Okay, great. I'm just thinking, any other process questions as we're going through? So, city attorney search, what happens next?
Is Jerome here? Jerome's going to walk up. And as
Jerome will answer that.
Yeah, and I'll give you an update while he's walking up on the city manager search.
Please.
The group is scheduled to do Zoom interviews on Thursday of this week. They're starting at 9 and they'll go through the rest of the day. We were initially thinking about live streaming, but have decided not to, so no one gets an unfair advantage.
Okay.
Because it is the same set of questions, but they will all be recorded and then subsequently posted on the website for anyone to view. The committee, because it is a long day, will be meeting again. I think it's on the 14th. And at that point, they will be discussing the 8 folks that they talked to and narrowing it down to some smaller number. And then Jerome's up.
That's all correct. Yes.
How about that?
Great.
And then relative to the city attorney search, the job was posted yesterday.
Oh, great.
With all of the same sources that we posted when Tom Ansbro was selected. It will run through the middle of February, so there'll be a full 30 days of posting, as there was with the city manager posting as well. So we are currently taking the applications through our NeoGov system, which is our applicant tracking system with the city. The city committee, the search committee, has been contacted for dates for them to convene. The first meeting, of course, would be to name a chair and vice chair and to review what the rules are in terms of interviewing the candidates as they come in. But we have not been able to establish a first date of the meeting of the search committee yet.
Okay. And again, the process is getting the applicants. The HR team is going to narrow the applicants down for the committee, or the committee's narrowing it down?
We'll review them just to make sure they meet the minimum qualifications as posted.
Yep.
And then they will be referred to the search committee for interviews.
Great. So, again, just to be clear, is the search committee going to evaluate all those applicants and decide which ones they want to interview?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What timeline is the committee being given the expected results, their ultimate recommendation?
Well, with the posting being open until February 15th, we would not imagine they would have a first interview until sometime shortly after that. And then at that point, they would deliberate as to whether they want to have a second interview to narrow the field down even further, depending on the number of candidates we receive. And then from there, they will make the recommendations to the commission for their final interviews.
Okay, great. That makes sense. And then for the city manager, so the committee is going to make recommendations, I guess, from the 8 finalists down to some smaller number?
To some smaller number, what they decide.
Okay.
Yes.
And is the commission able to consider all 8 candidates or only what the committee recommends?
We would recommend that you go with the search committee's recommendations. However, if you want to broaden that, I believe you've been provided with the materials for all 8 candidates at this point. The commission could deliberate to decide if they want to include additional candidates for interview.
Okay, great. That helps me. Thank you.
Okay.
So, Jerome, possibly we'd like to add an extra step to the timeline then. That would be maybe we'll do a walk-on on the 22nd, just to let them know who that short list is and if they'd like to expand it. Because the committee's going to meet on the 14th, so again, maybe we could share that list on the 22nd. And again, if the commission wanted to expand it from what the committee recommended, we would do it then, just so we could get them scheduled for the February.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Mayor.
Anything further from your reports? Nothing? Okay. Any further comments from the commission? There being none, this meeting is now adjourned. We meet at 6 o'clock. Can you make it by then?